Welcome one, welcome all to Pit Road Productions this lovely Saturday. It is time for the next round of the 5th season of the Almeida Racing League. We started off the new season in the Spec Racer Fords at Montreal last week, and we were provided with some fantastic racing. Let's see if we see the same here in virtual Japan at Tsukuba circuit for round 2. Very short circuit, this one. It'll be interesting to see how such a big field of Spec Racer Fords goes around here. It's going to be testing the driver's abilities for sure. Bringing it to you live on YouTube and Twitch, also on Swellio Almeida's YouTube channel. Hello if you're watching from there. I'm Reese Gardner. It's Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box and also producing behind the scenes. Zippy, well, we've already well established by this point that you're a big Spec Racer Ford fan.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, we heard you in our ears pretty much the whole time last week about how good the racing was. I'm sure you'll be hoping for more of the same here today.
Absolutely, Reece. And don't get me wrong, Tsukuba definitely not on the Princess approved track list, but here with the Spec Fords, I think it's going to be an absolute belter. They're really going to have to focus on that corner exit before that long back stretch onto the front stretch, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to be a really good race. Don't get me wrong. The Spec Racer Ford, I find it caters for not just professionals, but for the more realistic amateurs amongst that as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, these are academy drivers, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be misled. These guys are potent, but I do find it's a car that it's balanced for all levels kind of thing. And with it being so much of a momentum car and the draft being so significant as well, it really it embraces great racing.
It certainly does, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of tactical racing tonight as well, just because the track is so short. It's only 2 kilometers long. Very historic circuit, though. It is particularly famous in the time attack scene in Japan. This track is basically where time attack was born. It's fantastic to see that it was added to iRacing a couple of years ago, and it's been providing some great racing ever since. But it is only one of many great tracks that we're going to this season, Zippy. We head to Sebring next week, and then the endurance round at Watkins Glen for round 4, to Interlagos and Chicago to round off the first part of the season, and then across to Virginia International Raceway for round 7, hopping across the pond to Italy for Imola round 8. Road America plays host to the second of the endurance rounds this season, and then we finish off the season at Jerez and Winton, being the final round in December. The format for tonight: drivers are currently in 15 minutes of open qualifying, and that's going to be very difficult around a circuit as compact as this. Only 15 minutes for the first 2 races of the night. The top 10 from race 1 will be inverted for the race 2 grid, and then the feature of 20 minutes with the grid set by heat 2. Drivers get 1 fast repair, effectively 1 spare car per race. So if you crash, you do have a chance to get back out there. But every driver is driving the exact same setup. The only things I believe you can really adjust brake bias in the Spec Racer Ford. So everyone's driving to the same numbers and facing the same difficulties that come with driving such an interesting machine that can be quite tail happy if driven the wrong way.
Absolutely, Reece, absolutely. And again, it's good to see these guys coming back. As we hear, we have Javier Sobrino. He's back, had a good first round. Let's take a quick look of what he can do on board.
Absolutely, down the start-finish straight, very short run into turn 1, which is much wider than the rest of the circuit. Using the curb to its full effect there, maybe a bit too much use of the exit there. Flat out S-bend, and you're braking through the right-hander into this hairpin here, the slowest corner on the circuit. The curb is quite high, so you've got to be careful how you use it. Then stick left on the way out to widen the entry into the corner under the Dunlop Bridge, and then another flat-out run through this double left-hander, which blends right into the braking zone for the 3rd hairpin of the lap and the last corner before you get to the long back straight. You have to maximize it 100% if you want a good run, and it looks like car number 21 has effectively abandoned that lap, letting by our number 11 machine of Edwin Rivera, who won 2 races last round. It's high-speed final corner here. It's very easy to mess up the entry and understeer all the way through to the exit. Fortunately, if you do, there is a ton of painted concrete beyond the curb that is fully free to use. So I'm sure drivers will be maximizing that as the event goes on.
Absolutely, Reece, and definitely it's going to be a bit of a belter this evening. Well, this evening, it's not even this. It's the only show we
It's
do in the
evening
middle
for
of the day. All right, I'll take it. Thank you for that save, Reese. It is indeed evening in Australia, ladies and gentlemen. Our exotic counterpart, the one and only Mr. Reese Gardner.
Yeah, of course, Australian Western Standard Time, exactly 12 hours ahead of North American Eastern Time when daylight savings is not in effect. So, yeah, you're right. It is a bit of an oddball show that we do here for the Almeida Racing League. For those of us in the Americas, it is in the middle of the day, but I think that's a nice little change up, and it's also nice to have a time slot like this that multiple time zones can actually make. In the UK and Europe, it's currently the afternoon going into the early evening. So basically, no matter where you are in the world, you're able to race in this series, which is fantastic. It's brought us a wide variety of talent from across the world.
Absolutely, and that's it. I've never actually thought of it quite like that. I know, obviously, we deal a lot with time zones in that race, and it can indeed be quite challenging at times. Myself being in the most eastern part of Canada, I tend to be ahead, at least by time zone, ahead of everybody else, and the majority of the time, anybody in North America. So, it really does mix things up a little bit there, as we see a little bit of weaving from the car ahead. Now, one thing that we are going to touch on here today, Reese, is the fact that the draft is going to be absolutely huge, and you can see a couple of these drivers here just trying to find a tow buddy. Right now, we're looking at Mayo Marinovic, and he's got a car right behind him, the number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go have a look and see who that is. It's Thomas Nieminen. Oh, the prodigal Finland man returns.
Excellent. Yes, Nieminen has been a fixture in previous seasons of the Almeida Racing League here on Pit Road Productions. Good to see that he's back in it there, and not doing too badly either in the qualifying session. He sits in 5th place. Marinovic, just in front of him, meanwhile, is apparently quite good at Tsukuba. Currently sitting in 3rd. He was 2nd up until Adam Mika put in a 1:764 to put himself into P2. Fastest time at the moment held by Edwin Rivera, a 1:06. It is an incredibly short circuit, this one, and it basically means that our 15-minute races are going to be 15 laps in length. That's a nice, easy conversion. How many minutes is the race? Well, that's how many laps there's going to be.
Yeah, it definitely makes for an easy algorithm there. But there's somebody who I do want to keep an eye on. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is who I think it is, then we've got to be having a lot to keep in mind. I don't think it is there's a gentleman. Oh, I'm thinking of, yep, never mind. If it was who I thought it was, they are incredibly potent in the spec racer Ford. Get myself a little bit confuddled there, and those people who know the spec racer Ford community will definitely know who I'm on about. Probably the man who has the best sportsmanship on the whole series. But let's check in with a couple more of these drivers, as I do wonder. Yeah, we do have Connor Bell here today, ladies and gentlemen, as well. Be sure to check out the latest video from Swello himself and Connor Bell doing a little bit of a collab on that one, and definitely worth watching about how these guys have become racing drivers. Certainly think it's a bit more about Connor's story on that occasion. I haven't had a chance to watch it just yet, but it's certainly going to be happening this weekend.
Yes, about the time we went live, the video only came out 40 minutes before that, so it is fresh, hot off the presses on Swello Almeida's YouTube channel. Go and check it out, the latest video. Connor Bell is one of our coaches here at the Almeida Racing Academy. Quite an accomplished sim racer and real-world racer now too. Racing in NASCAR Canada in 2025, and already getting some excellent results. I believe it was at Calabogie, I believe, that he won this year. So it's certainly a good opportunity to see what makes a driver like that tick, watching the latest video on Swellio's channel. We'll see how Connor Bell does in the races here today. Being a coach, he will start at the back of the grid for the races here today, and we'll see what he and his fellow coach Kane Halliburton can do. Halliburton driving the number 12 on screen at the moment. And looking at the practice times, we had Connor Bell in 3rd, and I don't believe we saw a time from Kane Halliburton in practice, so a bit of a mystery as to how fast he's going to be.
Yeah, Kane is generally quick in anything you put him in, ladies and gentlemen. He is an incredibly fast driver, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's actually the head coach over at the Almeida Racing Academy. But we do have a couple new drivers who have snuck in today. This is one of them, Mr. Manfred Flohr, the German driver here. He's going to be driving the number 74, currently in P10 for gold class and P14 overall. Sorry, gold? Premier.
Yes, indeed. We have Premier and Club as our two subclasses in the Almeida Racing League for Season 5. The Premier drivers are coloured in gold on the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, and Club drivers are silver. As you can see, Ardigo and Marinovic are certainly driving a bit beyond what that Club moniker may or may not entail. But Ardigo here in the number 60, he is looking for a race win here. He was a podium contender in all 3 races at Montreal last week, and he's got magnificent pace in this car.
Yeah, he really has been a potent weapon since he arrived. And you know what? The Brazilian driver as well. I love the fact that his paint job, one of the generic Almeida Racing Academy ones, a beautiful paint job. It really, it matches up to his country flag in some ways. Maybe not quite the same shade of green, but I'm actually kind of a little jealous for the guy. That worked out beautifully for him.
Certainly did. You've got green, you've got gold. It could almost pass for an Australian scheme, honestly, but we won't take that away from Gabriella. It's a beautiful looking machine that he is driving, and well, fast cars always become more beautiful when they take wins. So Gabriel will certainly be hoping that he is on the top step at some point today. Still looking for that win, but driving in the top 3 positions all the way through at Montreal. So 2 minutes remain in the qualifying session, Zippy. We're still waiting for further improvements from some drivers. Do you think maybe we should have a look at the points coming into this round before we get to the racing action?
You do make a valid point indeed there, Reese. Let's have a quick peek here.
A valid point on the points. So we'll see Edwin Rivera up on top. He won 2 of the 3 races at Montreal last week. Ian Joyner took the win in race 2, and he is set second in the championship. Vansavicius and Calabrese are from other splits. This lumps everyone competing in the league together. There are 2 individual splits running with different drivers at the same time, but Ardigo with his podium results sitting in 5th place overall and looking for a little bit more today. So that's how things stand coming into this second round of the championship, and quite the long 11-round season that we've got here. And only a minute left in qualifying. Nice wide view of that final corner, which is incredibly fearsome when you're approaching at 2 or maybe even 3 wide. We'll have to wait and see how much side-by-side racing we get. The racing we saw at Montreal was fantastic. There was a fair amount of big incidents and a few big crashes as well, but by and large the racing was hard but clean, which is exactly what we want to see.
Absolutely. I have a feeling this last corner is going to be one of interest, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, it's quite a challenging corner being such a long right-hander. But here we see Kevin Adrian. He's right up behind the back of that number 14 car of Jonathan Gutman, just trying to get a slipstream and move himself further up through the order. Currently, he is P4 as he's backed out of that. He is P4 in the club class. Definitely good to see him back. Made the top split multiple times over here at the Almeida Racing Academy, and I have had the pleasure of driving alongside him. But ladies and gentlemen, that is indeed the end of qualifying.
Yep, hard cut to the end of the session, it being a multi-race server, and Edwin Rivera has continued his momentum from Montreal. He's got overall pole position for this round, with Gabriel Ardigo getting the pole in club, starting alongside him on the front row. Majko Marinovic with a fantastic performance, qualifying 3rd alongside Zdenek Hamak, with Adam Mika and Zoltan Zomotor on the 3rd row of the grid. Thomas Niemanen, fantastic drive to P7 in qualifying, starts alongside the Dutchman Martin Wieser, with Peter Ibrishimov and Kevin Adrian rounding out our top 10.
As we have a look at P11, Rich Meesters, he's back in there with Jacques Scotze alongside him in P12. 13th, Steve's the British driver of Steve Saunders with Philip Falcon in 14th. Man with Floor, new this round, ladies and gentlemen. He's there in P15 with Jonathan Gutman alongside in 16th. Mark Schmurder takes 17th with Brandon Priest in 18th. And Michael Sabinares in 19th with Yanis Theophanopoulos in 20th.
Philippe Masson lines up in 21st place alongside Yifan Chow, with Domenico Sayu starting alongside Brian Torres to round out our first 12 rows. Then it's Neil England and Javier Sobrino starting 25th and 26th. Mike Roberts starts 27th. Connor Bell lining up 28th position, with Tori Traverso starting alongside head coach Kane Halliburton. Jeremy Childers unable to get a time in qualifying. He will start all the way at the back in 31st place. Still a fantastic turnout for this second round of the championship. We saw a mammoth amount of cars at Montreal, but yeah, I think anything over 20 cars in a field at Tsukuba, maybe even anything over 15 cars, I would consider it pretty packed and cramped on a circuit like this.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a race of potential attrition. We're going to see some hard charges through the field without any doubt. Any incident in such a kind of track, it is going to ricochet absolutely incredibly. And I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong. It's great to be able to push the car to the absolute limit, but it depends on the driver as well. You've got to be able to work the traffic. Myself, traffic is where I do best. That's what I get excited about when sim racing. You put me on an open circuit, which is 2 or 3 cars, I'm not going to do the best there, but I think this is going to be an absolute belter of an event.
Yeah, a very short formation lap. I think some drivers have been caught out here by the very quick run into the pits from the pace car, and we're immediately away for the start of race 1. Edwin Rivera leading the way into turn 1 with Gabriel Ardigo late on the brakes round the outside of the first hairpin. Can he maintain the side-by-side on the exit? Just enough room being given there by Edwin Rivera, and Ardigo gets the momentum out of the corner. He's got the inside line for the next hairpin, and he will lead on the way into turn 4. Fantastic job from Ardigo to take the lead there on the first lap. A crucial move for sure.
Yeah, that's actually the first time I think we've seen Edwin Rivera push off that top spot. So absolutely fantastic job there by the Brazilian driver. Battles happening throughout the field. We do have a bit of a gap starting to appear here, though. I'm not sure why. Between Martin Visser back in P8 and Peter Abrisimov, who's on the tail pack of that lead pack there. So if they can stay with him, Visser's going to be keen there, as it looks like he's pulling off to the side, ladies and gentlemen. He's trying to
maybe
break the
going
draft.
defensive. Yeah, he is. He's trying to break the draft versus Kevin Adrian, and those two will continue fighting there for 8th and 9th. They've managed to lose a bit of time to the top 7 now, as Edwin Rivera briefly tried getting the lead back from Gabriel Ardigo up ahead. They remain in that order. Mark Schmurder is in the midst of this pack here in 13th place. They're side by side all the way through the field, no matter where you look. My goodness, the run into this hairpin. It's so narrow, it's so tight. You need to be incredibly careful to give everyone the requisite amount of room, but they sort themselves out. No big crashes just yet, which is excellent to see, but the battle for the lead is certainly not slowing down, Zippy. Ardigo and Rivera are going at it every opportunity they can.
Well, I'd like to say you'd be 100% right, but something has happened to Brandon Priest. That car is crabbing pretty badly. And it's fair to say that he definitely had a bit of a nudge. Let's see if we can go back a little bit further and find out exactly what happened to him.
So it looks like it might have happened sort of, oh, yeah, that was coming into the final corner at the end of lap 1. Contact that sent him into the wall there. It's a shame. He was making his way through very nicely, but it just looks like he was a bit caught out by the drivers ahead braking. It was Yifan Chow, the car ahead. Meanwhile, Peter Ibrishimov has a front row seat to this action here, and he's getting boxed in. Oh, that's Zdenek Hamak next to him, and Hamak, contact is sent back there, and that's an extra position for Thomas Niemanen as well. This is crazy racing going on at the moment here in the top 5. Niemanen looking for the inside on the number 1 of Ibrishimov. Adam Mika and Mako Marinovic wanting to get away from this as quickly as they can. It's looking like a bit of a mess there in the battle as Ardigo and Rivera are starting to break away now.
Yeah, I got to admit, I don't pick favourites for Neiman, and that was absolutely awesome. I loved it. With the sneak attack, ladies and gentlemen, I'm over the moon to see this guy back. We should actually get to talk to him at some point. We can already see the gloves are indeed off, and the teddies may be coming out the pram. As you see a move being happened there by Zdenek Hamak on the inside.
Yeah, up the inside he goes, and he will keep Niemanen behind him for now. Kevin Adrian is caught back up to this pack here. Like we say, all it takes is a little bit of side-by-side. That's a car wide. That's Marinovic that's gone wide in the 243. That allows Adam Mika through onto the podium places, and Ibrishimov is going to get him as well.
Yeah, that's the thing when you run such a big field, especially with cars so evenly balanced as this. It really doesn't take a lot. As Niemanen, look at her send it up the inside once again. And it's fair to say he's just gotten away with that. A little bit of a nudge there. Kevin Adrian's right behind. Now, what we haven't seen yet is anybody trying to give it a little bit of a bump draft. Are we going to see Kevin Adrian get in on that?
There were cars spinning in the background there. It looks like Connor Bell and Mikhail Sabiniaz going around at the hairpin there. Looks like Neiman. Oh, yeah, okay. So Sabiniaz is going to get going again cleanly, but it looks like we may have lost Connor Bell from that. It was quite a big smash that we saw in the background, a shot there. So we'll see Jonathan Gutman's perspective of it all. The number 3 makes contact on the exit there, and yeah, Connor Bell, I don't think did anything wrong there. He was just holding his line, and unfortunately Sabiniaz had some understeer induced when he got on the power. Gutman also coming off second best from that one. Familiar sight from last week, a Spec Racer Ford without the front body assembly.
I was going to say, that's the first one we've had of the night. I've done it again, Reese. I'm moving to Australia, Reese. Make sure there's a bed made up for me. Ladies and gentlemen, your Aussie counterparts, Pit Road Productions.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a spare bed, but my cat likes to sleep on it most of the time. Hope you don't mind a bit of cat hair. Adam Mika is putting on a great drive at the moment. He's starting to get away from this battle pack, and you know, this is something that we see so often. The more often they run side by side, the more time they lose, and a little bit of a door open there for Zdenek Hamak, and that's going to send Mako Marinovic off and back to 9th place. His run out of the hairpin stymied from that, and he will probably be none too happy with that. He's been tapped around a little bit already this race. Obviously they're not afraid to get the elbows out here at Tsukuba.
Well, they say rubbing is racing, and certainly I think that might be a bit more of a rub, maybe a little bit of an elbow barge, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, Yanis Fianopoulos, he's looking to try and get himself ahead of Rich Meisters, who I do believe is rocking a bit of damage on the left front corner of that car.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely see it from all angles. So Meisters probably making rear-end contact with another car in those opening laps, and that might hurt his straight line speed a little. He will stay ahead on the way into the final corner, but Theophanopoulos certainly is looking pacey at the moment. The lap time difference around here is barely anything, so it's going to be really tough to tell who actually has a lap time advantage around here. For the moment, we'll have to wait a couple of laps to see where they're at respective to each other. But Tuomas Niemanen is having an all right run at the moment. He's been right in the thick of the battles, and he has not been afraid to make a little bit of contact where necessary. For the moment, he sits on a bit of an island there in between the 27 of Zdenek Hamak and the 10 of Kevin Adrian, but then, no dear, that's Hamak that spun around out of the hairpin. Both Adrian and Niemanen get involved, and Thomas is out of the race.
I was literally about to say we got cheering from Jake Enns there. Actually, Kyra Enns is a crew chief today. That's why he is not present. But it was going so well for him. And then the old commentator's curse, it just went straight in there. But we had one from the chat as well. So sorry, Tumas. It was a joint effort on that one, buddy. But we do have some cheers for Kyra Enns. Despite the fact he's not here today, he is actually doing a crew chief role for a endurance team with more contact from Mayo Marinovic.
Yeah, and that's Kevin Adrian that bumped him a little bit through the hairpin, and that's going to bring Zdenek Hamak right back into it. Hamak, amazingly, despite his spin, still holding on to 7th position and trying to pressure Kevin Adrian here, but not much room to the inside through the right-hander. Adrian nails the exit, though, and stays ahead on the way out. Quite a few drivers
Ooh.
here who would have thought we'd be in contention for the podium, but they've been set back throughout this race as Marinovic is sent wide again. That's the 25 of Mark Schmerder that's made his way through and will shortly be followed by Yanis Theophanopoulos, who has managed to succeed in getting past Rich Meesters. Meesters finds the door open to the inside, moves through on Marinovic and into the top 10.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought they were going to go 3 wide, and right now, I'm pretty sure I can tell what's going on inside the helmet of Kevin Adrian. It's like, get me out of here. I want to be free of this. And don't get me wrong, if he can, fair play to him, but this is one of the things I love about the Spec Racer Ford. You've got to be able to break that draft, and right now, at 0.6 of a second, he's not going to do that. Speaking of breaking the draft, though, Gabriel Ardigo has done exactly, well, I say he's done exactly that. Not quite. He's got Edwin Riviera behind him by about half a second, but behind him again, 2.5 seconds to Adam Mika, who's currently there in third with another 3.5 behind to Peter Ibrishimov. His first round here at the Almeida Racing Academy.
Yes, and doing quite well at that. We need to think as well about the grid invert for race 2. It's a random number every round, and guess what? This round, it is P6 that is the last invert position. That is currently held by Kevin Adrian, who's under big pressure from Hamak and Schmerder. So this is the battle, effectively, for race 2 pole that we're looking at.
Yeah, definitely. If you get yourself on a pole and maybe get a bit of clean air, it could indeed be beneficial. But I have to wonder as well, don't get me wrong, right now Aldega has, he's led every lap in this race, but I do have to wonder if the pole seat is maybe not the one that you want. Maybe P2 is actually the more advantageous position. Certainly some Formula 1 tracks we've seen it coming into discussion, but as you see Hamak there grazing the grass very slightly and dropping back just a smidge to Kevin Adrian.
Yeah, so Tsukuba, very old school circuit. It doesn't have any tarmac runoff. It's just grass and gravel that line the racetrack around here, minus the occasional patch of green painted concrete, which I think is a perfect balance of runoff areas around a racetrack. It certainly results in some very spirited driving as they try to widen the entry to these corners as much as they can and potentially catch a little bit of grass to send them around. And well, on the exit, it's also a problem too. Rich Meesters now trying to keep Yanis Theophanopoulos behind him into the 10th position at the moment. Yanis getting a slightly straighter exit out of the hairpin. But not much he can do in this braking zone. You basically got to be right alongside the driver you're trying to pass if you want any chance of getting the move done.
Yeah, I can see Rob Campbell there having a little bit of banter. He reckons, well, he said he phrased it just trying to corner up some excitement, but my argument was he reckons that Adam Meakin, no, Fiannapolis.
Oh,
Little ambitious, that one.
Yeah, a spirited dive at the hairpin. It's an incredibly tempting overtaking opportunity. I can tell you that from first-hand experience. Unfortunately, not quite alongside enough to really get it done. So Manfred Fleur now stands a chance of getting into lucky 13th. As the race enters its final 3.5 minutes. And, well, there's not much more to be said about that because we're getting ready for the battle for the lead and the battle for P6. It looks like Rivera is caught up to Ardigo and Gabriel is forced to go defensive. Not much mid-corner speed there taking the tighter line. He'll have to go defensive again into the hairpin. Can Rivera get it done around the outside here? There's a slight bank to this hairpin which you can use if you are so inclined. But at the moment it looks like Rivera is getting the run out of the corners here versus Gabriel Ardigo, but the defensive line into the final corner is usually king. It's so fast that if you're on the outside, it can be very difficult to maintain the momentum without inducing understeer, and it looks like Rivera's going to have to just back out of that one, maybe, but Ardigo leaves him enough room around the outside to potentially go up the outside into turn 1 as well, but all things considered, Ardigo stays ahead. That was a good defense, but it lasted for about half a lap.
Well, Rob may indeed wish he'd taken that bet, ladies and gentlemen, because he seems to think that Adam Mika is going to come through and win this on the last lap. And fair play to him. You know what? I offered up a fiver for it. The moment's gone, but I could have been out of my money here, Reese.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. We still have 2 minutes remaining in this race, and Ardigo goes defensive again. And see what Rivera's doing there. He is just making a V shape out of the line through the corner. He is angling to the inside on the exit. That allows him to straighten up the car a little bit earlier, and it gets him some momentum off the corners. But Ardigo responds in kind by sticking to the inside all the way through the second last corner and through the final corner as well. He is making Edwin Rivera's job very tough right now.
Yeah, I got to make Campbell maybe onto a point here as well. Mika has actually managed to close up 0.6 of a second in that last lap. If these guys keep fighting, the number 31 car could be in for a shot. I don't think they've left it too late for them to be safe away from the clutches of P3, but I've definitely not ruled it out yet, especially if contact does occur.
Yes, indeed. Oh, man. Edwin Rivera is... a little bit of a mistake on the curb, but I think that right there from Rivera and Ardigo was a masterclass in side-by-side racing and defensive driving. That's exactly what you want to see as a spectator, just flat-out good racing between these two. It's been great to see. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we do read the chat here in Pit Road Productions, but Rob said we'll cue the Jaws music. Yeah. Fair play. Mika is indeed getting closer as they are about to start the final lap of this session.
Indeed they are, and just like that, it is the start of lap 15. So, can Edwin Rivera get by Gabriel Ardigo? Let's see what he can do here. Angles it a little bit wider into the first corner, and well, for the moment, it looks like Ardigo was able to get on the power a bit more spiritedly, and he has some breathing room coming into the next hairpin. But all it takes is one mistake here on the exit of the hairpin or through this next right-hander, and Edwin will be right on the back of Gabriel. He's all over the curb there. Compare that to Ardigo, who barely touched the curb at all. Stability versus speed. Let's see who wins here. Just enough room to the outside for Edwin to stick his nose in there.
Oh!
And a bit of contact in the mid-corner. Slide, and Rivera is going to lose second place out of this. Adam Mika moves through to second place, coming out of the penultimate corner of the race. And that's going to leave Gabriel Ardigo with all the breathing room in the world. He is going to take his first victory of the season in style after putting the pressure on Edwin Rivera and breaking that streak. Brilliant job.
Well, I've got to admit, Ardigo has definitely deserved that. The battle's still going on between these drivers further back. Hamak, Adrian, Schmerder, Marinovic, all of these guys getting into an absolutely fantastic battle. Rich Meesters as well. He's still going at it as well as they bring it over and across the line. Further back, it looks like Philip Masson and Philip Falcon are indeed going for it. My apologies, Neil England, ladies and gentlemen. The American driver, despite named England, going for it as they make their way across the line.
That's for the last position in the top 20, and that battle for the lead was so incredible that we unfortunately missed Zdenek Hamak passing Kevin Adrian for 6th place. So Hamak in the number 27 is going to be your pole sitter for race 2 out of that one. And it looks like we might just be able to get an idea of the move there, and what a move it was. My goodness, around the outside there. That was all we needed to see. Fantastic job there by Zdenek Hamak.
Yeah, that was definitely a belter. Not really one of the more traditional spots where you would go and make a pass, but fair play to him. He made it work.
He certainly did. Well, Ardigo, Mika, and Rivera are your podium for race 1, and Brishimov, Visser, and Hamak round out your top 6. Flip those 6 drivers, and that is your top 6 for race 2. The rest of them will start where they finished. Kevin Adrian in P7, with Mark Schmerder in 8th, and Marinovic and Yifan Chow rounding out your top 10.
As we have a look there at P11, it's going to be Yanis Theophanopoulos with Rich Meesters there in P12. Manfred Floor takes 13th with Jonathan Gutman in 14th. Domiko Seu, he made his way up a little bit there. He's in 15th. Jeremy Childers does actually make an appearance. He's in 16th with Javier Sabrino in 17th, alongside the German driver of Zoltan Zomator. Neil England taking up 19th with Philip Masson in 20th.
In 21st, it was Philip Falcon with Mike Roberts finishing behind him. Mikhail Sabiniaz, he'll want to make a recovery from his unfortunate contact with Connor Bell in race 1. Steve Saunders in 24th. And with all of that, we have Halliburton starting behind with Brian Torres, Jack Coetzee, Brandon Priest, Thomas Neiman, and Connor Bell and Tori Traverso rounding out our field. And just like that, we are here for the start of race 2. That was very tight indeed. A little bit of confusion, it seems, over the starting order there. It's a little less orderly than we imagined here, and it looks like Hamak has been caught out. Black flags all over the place. It looks like that short formation lap at Tsukuba has unfortunately caused a bit of an administrative nightmare. Maybe a full formation lap would have been better for this event, but regardless, that's going to leave Adam Mika in the lead for the moment, but with a black flag hanging over his head. Visa, Adrian, Rivera, and Ardigo are the rest of your top 5, and there's plenty more drama going on throughout the rest of the field. Hamak, our pole sitter, has fallen all the way back to 27th place, and we've had a couple of drivers come a cropper in the back half of the field, Tori Traverso being one of them. So this is going to be interesting for sure. Hopefully the drivers with admin permissions in this race can clear some black flags. There's some big drama further back. My God, Yifan Chow toes off the circuit. He was one of the drivers involved in that mess.
That was incredibly flamboyant.
That it was. Oh dearie me. That is quite the insane amount of contact, and good avoidance by the drivers who came up on that, but it's not ideal for anyone at the back of the field there. So at the moment, we're waiting to see if the black flags for these drivers will be cleared by the coaches who have administration permissions in the server. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen, but we can call this battle as it is for the moment. Adam Mika is starting to get away from them, with Visser holding on to second place, but Kevin Adrian is the first driver without a black flag to his name, and he's got Edwin Rivera right behind him for close company.
Yeah, at the minute, if you take away the top 3 here who have black flags, it's going to put Kevin Adrian and Gabriel Ardigo on P1 and P2. And I have a feeling the admin squad is probably going to leave this alone, because how do you do this fairly? Not only that, they're in the race as well. Connor Bell is not in the race anymore. He's, I think he may have towed us. Actually, that looks like a bit of a queue there. And was that Ardigo? It was Ardigo taken out, ladies and gentlemen. What happened there?
Yanis Theophanopoulos was the other car that was stopped at the circuit there. So some big dramas there. It looks like he just got right into the back of Ardigo. Gabriel was angling towards the inside of turn 1, and Theophanopoulos was trying to get up the inside there. It was a door that was closing as he came up to it, unfortunately. So Ardigo has been put back to 11th place. And this is the downside, the dark side, you could say, of racing at a tight circuit like Tsukuba. I always enjoy tight and short circuits like this because it really produces fantastic action. But the flip side of that is, if an incident happens, you're more than likely to be caught up in it.
Yeah, definitely. It's swings and roundabouts races. Right now, the hard charger, and not for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, it is the head coach of Kane Halliburton, up 16 positions, ladies and gentlemen. As we can see, it looks like Mayo Marinovic looking to try and make some moves earlier up in the field as well.
Yeah, 5th place for Maiko. We keep our eye on him as he chases Martin Visser and Kevin Adrian, and Adrian's going to come under some pressure here. Worth pointing out as well that Connor Bell has cleared the black flags that appeared for our top 3, so it looks like it's play on for everyone involved. So Adam Mika, the runaway leader at the moment. We've got to wait and see if Kevin Adrian will be able to hold back Martin Visser, as Edwin Rivera is starting to break away as well. Good inside defense from the number 10. But now we've got the slipstream coming up this back straight, and you can already see Visser starting to creep ever closer to Kevin.
Yeah, Martin Visser, one of the drivers we've seen before. Great to have him back here at the ARA. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But right now, we have Maiko Marinovic. He's definitely been a little bit one of the more spicy contenders. Find his way into a couple of the incidents as well. I'm hoping these drivers can keep it clean to the end of the race, as Ardigo makes another move up on the inside of turn 1.
Well, he picked up some damage in his contact with Theophanopoulos, but it hasn't hurt his pace, it seems. He is still in the top 10, and he's looking to try and make some moves on Kane Halliburton up ahead of him. And remember, Kane is one of our coaches who started towards the rear of the field. So it looks like Ardigo can match, if not better, Mr. Halliburton's pace, which is a very good sign for races to come if you're a fan of the driver of this number 60. For Halliburton's race at the moment, it looks like he is actually getting held up a little bit by Rich Meesters and Mark Schmerder, who are fighting over P5 for the moment. Pokes the nose out, gets up the inside into the final corner, and Meesters has to give room there to Kane Halliburton. Slots back in line very quickly, though, which is good to see. He'll pick up some slipstream on the way into turn 1, but is it going to be enough? Defensive from Halliburton, and looks like that defense will be successful for the moment. Meesters wanted to turn in fully there, but he couldn't.
Well, I mean, Kane's a nice guy, but I mean, you could give him a little bit of a shoulder barge by all means. But what I do want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, right now, so keep in mind the Almeida Racing Academy, it is a league, but one of the beautiful things about that is you get drivers, you know, they did their own qualifying for this, and you needed to get in different splits. So Rich Meesters is indeed in the gold class, as is Mark Schmerder. Now, Mark Schmerder's I rating is 1620, ladies and gentlemen, so in theory, he shouldn't even be anywhere near a split like this, but currently, he's running in P7. Attaboy, Mark Schmerder.
Yeah, excellent stuff, and it just goes to show that I rating is not the be-all, end-all of how a driver should be ranked. It's really good to see that we've got drivers who, you know, may not have done too well in official races, but when it comes to hosted and league racing, they really get a chance to shine, which is great to see. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the fight here for Ardigo, because he's been struggling to make any further moves up here since getting into 9th place. Meester's putting on a pretty good defense, it has to be said. Halliburton, meanwhile, has moved up to P6, and he's starting to gap this group now. Mark Schmerder and Rich Meesters continue their fight, and Gabriel Ardigo says, "Hello, everybody. I am here, and I am ready to fight." Let's see if he can get a move to the inside. He can't do it. The track is so narrow in that section. It's so difficult to get alongside. That's a mammoth exit from the corner for Meesters, though. Wonder if he's going to pick up the slipstream here on Schmerder and move up the inside into the final corner.
Yeah, he's going to put a nose up on the inside. You see a little bit of damage again to the left front corner of Rich Meesters. Obviously, he's not a fan of that part of the bodywork, or just likes to tune the car accordingly. Judging by the left front, there's a little bit of a nudge there, perhaps. As right now, here comes Ardigo. He's not just on one. Is he going to try and make it two, ladies and gentlemen? Not quite able to shut the door. Looks like Schmerder and Sabrino now as Meesters goes round.
Whoa! Round he goes and out of the top 10. Oh, wow, okay. There's some interesting avoidance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, very close indeed. But the battle for third is starting to heat up as well. You would have seen in the foreground a few moments ago, Martin Visa trying to get up the inside of Kevin Adrian into turn 1. Well, it looks like Kane Halliburton has joined them, and he's giving them the hurry up.
Yeah, I've got to say, great product placement there by Swellio. You see the Almeida Racing League decal on the front of a good portion of these cars. Great to have them as side by side. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, absolutely fantastic stuff. And can Halliburton push it free wide? I saw it once earlier on. I'd like to see it again.
Now, looks like Halliburton deciding discretion is the better part of valor. He's stuck behind them, but he's made contact with Kevin Adrian, and the number 10 gets spun off the circuit. Oh, just gets on the anchors in time to avoid getting into Ardigo. But that is a dangerous spot to be stopped right on the exit of the final corner, where drivers are going to be going across that curb. But Kevin Adrian manages to get back going cleanly. Unfortunately, Kane Halliburton, I think, the one at fault there.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate incident, and these guys are pushing it right on the limit now, but Halliburton is indeed back up to P4, 21 positions gained, but we are getting a shout out here from Jake Enns for this gentleman, Thomas Niemanen, who's actually up 20 positions. If you exclude the coaches, sorry Kane, Niemanen's got that title in the bag.
Certainly has. Just a brilliant job from Thomas Niemanen. And a big part of that would have been avoiding all of the chaos of the first few laps. Picking up positions left, right, and centre, doing quite well. Philippe Masson is going to make his way past Steve Saunders here, as Steve, unfortunately, went a little deep in that hairpin. He'll catch the slipstream off the Frenchman, though, and we'll see what he can do from here in this battle for 16th place. Early turn in for the final corner, but a bit of understeer in the mid-corner for Masson. Steve Saunders stays behind for the moment. There is racing going on everywhere you could possibly look, especially outside the top 10. This is fantastic.
It really is, Reese. Absolutely beautiful driving there. And that last corner is such a fickle one. Like, some drivers can go in and they can really carry the speed. Others will do more of a slow in, fast out. That's more, I think, what Steve Saunders was doing. More my kind of style as well. And currently, don't get me wrong, he's up 7 positions as well. He is P10 in the Premier class. Having a decent race so far.
Yeah, quite decent indeed. He's working things out all right for himself. But we'll have a look at that. That's wide from Masson, and that's going to result in contact for the both of them, and they both spin around. Saunders probably won't be too happy with that one. Masson running deep and trying to cut back under. Unfortunately, there was a car there. Oh, Jacques Coetzee, the South African. Well, it looks like no front end doesn't mean much. That is a big amount of straight line speed he just got there. And Coetzee, that was Zoltan Zomator that he just made his way past. And Zomator with some heavy damage to the bodywork. That can't be good for the aero.
Yeah, definitely the spec Ford is very susceptible to damage, Reese. And often people will not bump draft it just because it can mess. There's like a little... you see the little vent at the front. It can mess with the cooling a little bit there and really affect the straight line speed. But come to think of it, Sammy Hendricks, you know, the man who I say will literally bump draft anything, he's currently absent. A little bit of a shame here. I would have liked to have seen him back.
Yeah, he wasn't here for round 1 either from my memory, so maybe he won't make an appearance at all this season, but there's plenty of drivers in this field who are willing to pull off the kind of moves that we've seen Sammy do in the past. Rich Meesters being one of them. He's trying to get a little bit further up versus Kevin Adrian. This is the battle for 12th place, and then we move back to the battle for 16th. Philip Falcon in the 18th spot, with Jeremy Childers and Jonathan Gutman ahead of him. Bit of soaring away at the wheel there for Philip Falcon. Looks like he might be running his force feedback at max for that to happen. The Spec Racer Ford, of course, a bit of a lower level racing car, so it's not as technically complex as some of the bigger sports car races. It's not an insult, Zippy. I think it helps the car, honestly.
No, I'm roasting you. It is no secret my affection for the Spec Racer Ford, ladies and gentlemen, and I do know a couple of people actually who have had the pleasure of driving a real one. Certainly, if I ever get out that way, I'd say I'd steal the keys. Most race cars don't have keys, but the sentiment is still implied. I would love to have a blast in one. Don't get me wrong, I've got a chance to drive a radical race car. I'm looking forward to that, but it's a little bit more of like, you know, do you want, how much chili powder would you like? You know, there's different levels of heat as we're going to go and return to the battle here for P3, and it's going to be Martin Visser versus Kane Halliburton.
Yeah, looks like Visser got up the inside of Halliburton there actually was defending the position. Halliburton's been trying to get onto the podium here for the last lap or two, but Visser is proving a very tough customer. The 137, though, not getting the best of exits out of those mid-speed corners and has to defend as Halliburton is super deep into the hairpin. Takes advantage of the banking to launch himself out of the corner, and that's exactly the kind of result that you'd want to see from that kind of move. Visser sees it and responds in kind to the inside line for the final corner and darts back towards the racing line on the way into the final turn. Sort of a Formula One style move that we've seen in the past. Halliburton is not quite able to get the car fully on the paved surface out of the final corner, but that was enough momentum for him to get by into third. Brilliant to see. But Martin Visser is still not out of contention for the podium just yet. Halliburton undoubtedly will disqualify himself from the race results to ensure he starts at the back of the grid again. So Visser is your effective third place at the moment. Back to Kevin Adrian here. Rich Meesters still struggling to find his way past.
Yeah, these two Canadian drivers have been going at it for a little bit now. I've been keeping an eye on the timing, a couple of battles going on there. And it looks like Peter Ibrishimov is looking to try and capitalize on that as well. He's been staying with this pack, not really getting as aggressive with the moves. I think he's kind of blinding his time, the Bulgarian driver. I think he can see chaos coming. And, you know, just thinking, okay, maybe, you know, the safer option is indeed to hold back. Maybe he just hasn't quite managed to get the run on him. That's the thing, when you start getting the draft, you know, you pull out the draft, you can literally feel the car getting slowed down. And right now, they're too wide. Where's he going to go? Myself? Straight up the inside. Have some fun with it. But taking a much quicker line here, you're going to see he's going to get a lot of exit speed there. Absolutely huge. Starts to slingshot his way forward, but I don't think he's going to quite have enough to make it happen, as he's going to go on the outside. Nope, not quite. Oh, they turn. There you go. Good call by Rishimov. He saw that coming and capitalized. Well played there from the Bulgarian driver.
Well done, Peter. Managed to profit, and it makes sense that he's playing it safe. He started in third and was involved in the drama on the opening laps, so he's picked up some damage and he's running very low down compared to where he arguably should be. It is the final lap, though, Zippy. It looks like we might have to give our dues to Adam Mika, who has pulled off a fantastic drive here in race 2 and is going to take victory and see the top step of the podium for the first time in a while in the Almeida Racing League. Edwin Rivera, Mr. Consistency, still finishing in second place. Kane Halliburton finishes third on track, but he'll undoubtedly put himself more towards the back unless... yep, there we go. He just did it. So Martin Visser, we can officially call our third place finisher. Good consistent drives from our front runners.
Yeah, as I say, that more battles going on. Jeremy Shoulders currently fighting with Philip Falcon. Are we going to see a drag race down to the line? It's going to be incredibly close. Looks like Philip Masson was in there as well, ladies and gentlemen, right behind him. More battles happening. Looks like between Jacques Cortesi and Manfred Floor. And we have the Open Concept Spec Ford Club making a dual appearance there as they cross the line.
Yeah, Coetzee having a bit of a rough one out there.
Dear.
So does Zoltan Zomator, probably one of the sickest looking cars in this field, but mercifully back to pit lane. He'll get a fresh one for race 3. So your results then from race 2, our podium: Adam Mika, Edwin Rivera, and Martin Visser. Fantastic drives from all of them. Mako Marinovic picks up P4, and he'll be making good on his pace from that one. Gabriel Ardigo, winner of race 1 to 5th in race 2. Had a couple of prangs on the way there. Mark Schmerder finishes ahead of Javier Sobrino to finish 6th and 7th, with Niemanen, Priest, and England rounding out your top 10.
As we have a look there at P11, it's Peter Ibrishimov with Rich Meisters in 12th. Kevin Adrian took 13th with Yanis Fiakonopoulos in 14th. Jonathan Gutman took 15th with Jeremy Childers, Philip Falcon, and Philip Masson taking 16th, 17th, and 18th, with Dominica Sam in 19th, and Jack Coetzee rounding out your top 20.
Behind him, it was Manfred Floor, who started in 13th. He would have been wanting more out of that one. Brian Torres did make up a couple of positions, started from 26th, finishes 22nd. Mike Roberts losing 1 place, and Stephen Saunders, probably the only car in the field to finish exactly where he started, in 24th place. Zoltan Zomator, 25th, with Kane Halliburton disqualifying himself from the standings. He was our last official finisher, with Zdenek Hamak being the first of our retirements. Hamak starting from pole, but the start confusion put him all the way to the back, and it didn't get better from there. Sabiniaz, Chow, Bell, and Traverso also, unfortunately, falling by the wayside in that one. Well, it's time for the warm-up, time for a little breather, time for a word from Suelio Almeida.
If you're a racing driver and you want to reach an advanced level, there's a faster and easier way to become competitive. I've gone from this to this in 5 years. Now, we've created the perfect free driver development guide to help you understand the right order of racing skills to develop if you want to become a competitive driver as quickly as possible. This guide was made after 3,000 hours of combined high-level coaching.
Almeida and all the crew at the Almeida Racing Academy for putting this league on in the first place, to allow the students of the academy to learn, basically by doing the job, learning on the job, basically, to improve their racing nous and their pace. And also big thanks to all of them for bringing us on here at Pit Road Productions to bring you this racing. If you're just joining us, I'm Reese Gardner, and it is Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me and producing. behind the scenes. Good amount of hard racing thus far, Zippy. It's been a good, we're going back to the evening point. Evening for me. It has been a good evening so far.
I'm going to say a good afternoon. I've got to get it right at least once today. Certainly, if I'm a creature of habit, ladies and gentlemen. Not all the habits are good, but the intention is there. But I got to say, I'm so jealous. I would have loved competed in the season of this. Actually, we did see Rob Campbell make an appearance as well last week. So definitely good to see him out on track as well. But the Spec Ford it's honestly, it's one of the, I think, the best cars in the sim if you want to try and get faster. You know, it caters to the pros, it caters to those that are just still learning, still developing as well. And it almost has like an equalizer built in with the draft being so significant. But definitely a couple of the tracks in particular, I might have to see if I can get Rob to come in and sudden cover me. Perhaps we'll see if I can let myself loose out on the track. I'll have a think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly a good Spec Racer Ford race is it definitely has a little bit of a draw for me. But I got to admit, it's good to see some of the battles we got so far. Ardigo getting his first win, and even with that incident, Riviera able to still get in a podium. So that's good news for him. Niemanen makes an appearance, and not only that, gets hard charges. So definitely, we got some people to keep an eye on here at the Almeida Racing Academy.
We have for sure. And I think a lot of drivers from the chaos of race 2 who are wanting to sort of bring their event back on track in race 3. We will have 5 extra minutes of racing to contend with for the final stanza of this night's song of racing. I think that Adam Mika is certainly going to want to capitalize on this. Winning race 2, he will have pole position for the 3rd race. Rivera has yet to take a win tonight. Going from winning 2 races out of 3 at Montreal to not having a win so far at Tsukuba, it shows that it's not going to be a case of domination for Rivera.
Yeah, definitely not. And don't get me wrong, able to get 2 races as a win in the AR race so early on is definitely a big achievement. But I got to admit, Reese, it's going to be an absolute battle. This final race, what are you expecting from the drivers? Do you think they're going to be a little bit more reserved, or do you think the gloves are indeed going to come off just that a little bit more?
I think the gloves will come off more towards the end. I think they've certainly learned from the chaos of the first laps of the opening 2 races, and we'll be seeing a bit more care taken in the opening laps. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I don't know if we're actually going to get that. It's worth pointing out as well that Ian Joyner, who won race 2, I believe, at Montreal, is not here today. So that's one heavy hitter that's out of the race here. Reviewing the grid then, Mika and Rivera are your front row, with Visser, Marinovic, Ardigo, and Schmerda rounding out your top 6, with Sobrino and Niemanen 7th and 8th. Priest and England are your top 10. Basically, they've started from exactly the same positions that they finished in race 2. So Ibrishimov and Meisters there in P11 and 12, and moving further down the field, Adrian, Theophanopoulos, Gutman, and Childers rounding out your top 16, and the top 20 rounded out by Falcon, Masson, Sayu, and Coetzee, as we are coming up to the final few seconds of the gridding phase. A very short grid timer here. And they've gone for the short formation lap option here at Tsukuba. The drivers don't have to go all the way around the circuit to start the race. That has induced a little bit of confusion in the opening sort of few seconds of the race, though. So maybe worth putting a pin in that for future runnings of races at this track. They got to make sure to get up to speed quickly behind the pace car, because it immediately moves into pit lane, and they have to get organized for the race start. Adam Mika going to lead us away here in car number 31, with Edwin Rivera, the championship leader, coming into this round alongside him. Green flag flies, and we are away for the final race at Tsukuba, and Mika has a clear run into turn 1. Not much pressure from behind. Rivera is going to make up some moves into turn 1 there, trying to keep Martin Visser behind him. Visser looking for another podium out of this, but it looks like Gabriel Ardigo is going to have something to say about that in 4th place. The top 4 starting to break away. Then Mako Marinovic holds back the pack as they make their way into the hairpin for the first time. They are 2 by 2, basically the whole rest of the way down the field.
Well, I did hear a little bit of a crash, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not seeing anybody who's had a major fall through the order except for Mike Roberts, ladies and gentlemen. As I say that, Javier Sobrino's gotten into an incident. Let's have a quick look and see what's happened to him. He's there into the wall. We'll have to check back a little bit later there. Mike Roberts quite far back as well. Tori Traverso, I think, may have left the session as well. Definitely not the worst start we've seen, but all of these guys will very quickly try and get into single file. At least that's what they're doing at the front of the pack. Further back, however, all the gloves are indeed coming off. Everybody trying to make a quick move on the first lap.
Indeed. Hard charger at the moment is Kane Halliburton, who's made up 10 positions on the first lap alone, which is frankly insane. He's looking to make it up even more as he moves past Jeremy Childers into the first turn. The most beneficial non-coach of everybody is Zdenek Hamak, who's made his way up into 19th, up 8 positions. Adam Mika, though, holding on to the lead, but he has brought the rest of the top 5 with him. This race is far from over. We've still got 18 and a half minutes of this to go.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a cheer for this driver here, Mako Marinovic. We're getting some comments asking basically who he is, and I'm like, I'm honestly not sure. But we got greetings from San Sebastian, Perda, and General San Martin. That sounds wonderful. I don't know exactly where it is, but it sounds absolutely wonderful. So thank you for tuning in here on the Swallow's channel to German Papundi.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be an Argentinian location. Marinovic flying the flag of Argentina and looking to bring the vibes of Juan Manuel Fangio in his exploits here in the Almeida Racing League, looking at the back end of a Brazilian, Gabriel Ardigo in the number 60, who's trying his best to get back onto the podium here after missing out in race 2. But he has a race win on board this round, so he's broken that victory duck for the moment. Marinovic runs a little bit wide through the right-hander, so he will lose out just slightly here, but he's close enough for some slipstream. Further up, Edwin Rivera moves up the inside of Adam Mika, and that is the race lead changed. Is this going to bring Martin Visser and Gabriel Ardigo into contention here? You're weaving all the way across the track to try and find the slipstream, and Rivera is now defensive versus Mika into the final corner. Room to the inside briefly opens, but no one has enough momentum to take it.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought we were going to get a formation of 2x2, and they quickly got back into order. Now, this is one of the things with the Spec Racer Ford. You can fight, but as soon as you do, you end up slowing your lap time down so sufficiently, everybody else will indeed come into the mix. Right now, this top 5 is staying away from the likes of Peter Ibrishimov. He's back there in P6, about 1.7 seconds back. The more they fight, the more the rest of the pack will indeed catch up. Speaking of which, let's have a little bit further back. Oh, my word.
Oh!
That was Niemanen.
Oh, goodness, what great timing there. Niemanen running wide spinning in the left-hand hairpin, and it looks like he's out of the race, unfortunately. After gaining a huge amount of places in race 2, he loses the rear end. Not many marbles out there, but there is less grip available off the racing line, and Connor Bell ended up having some side-by-side in the midst of that as well. Bell is trying to find his way a bit further up, but it looks like he's just made up a couple more positions. Zdenek Hamak falls down the order. I think Hamak, there he is, getting going in the background. Potentially contact out of the penultimate corner.
Yeah, you see there, gets a little bit of a nudge, adds another bit of a nudge, and tank slapper.
That's not ideal. Unfortunate for Zdenek Hamak. And, you know, he's one of the drivers, I think, today that's really shown the most potential in terms of pace, but the racing has just not been kind to him. Hopefully he can stick with it, and we'll see better luck for him at future rounds. Edwin Rivera is holding off Adam Mika for the race lead, but while we were not looking at him, I saw him on my end, and he ran a bit deep into turn 1 at the start of this lap. So his armor is not impenetrable. We'll have to wait and see if Adam Mika can pull some kind of surprise, or even if Visser or Ardigo can get their nose in there and unsettle our top 2.
Yeah, it's good to see that these guys are having a good, clean race so far. We are going to try and focus on battles throughout the field here. It looks like Ardigo getting the door left open a little bit there. Visser almost a bit of a tease at this point. Not quite able to get it done, but I got I've been cheering for Ardigo since the start. He's just impressed me so much since he got here, and he's done an absolutely fantastic job. Definitely in Brazil, obviously that's where Swelio started, ladies and gentlemen. He started there as a pianist, so it's almost like we have a fellow countryman just trying to live that dream.
Yeah, absolutely. Ardigo has shown great talent in his first couple of races here, and he'll have a lot more potential going forward, I'm sure. But we can't let that take away from the performance that our current top three have put in here. Rivera has been the form driver in Spec Racer Ford since the start of round one. He has been a contender, and as we've mentioned before, he leads the championship coming into this round. So he's got a lot to back himself up here. He might be able to grab a win here if everything goes his way and try to maintain that championship lead. Visser is one of the outside contenders here. He's falling under a lot of pressure from Ardigo. Can't forget about Marinovic either. He is hanging back there in P5, but he's close enough to take advantage if something happens ahead.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the better drivers we've seen from Marinovic. He has got into a few incidents so far this season, and honestly, if he can stay with this top 5 pack and then fight it out at the end, see if accidents happen, he can potentially capitalize on that. As it looks like Mr. Kevin Adrian now trying to get away. Nope, I'm right the first time. Trying to give Mark Schmurder a little bit of a run for his money.
Yeah, Mark Schmurder has lost 1 position. Kevin Adrian has gained 5. Remember that Adrian unfortunately didn't have the result that he wanted from race 2. A late spin putting him out of contention there. Contact with another car too. So he's trying to find a bit of redemption here, and it looks like he might find it at turn 1. A fantastic exit from the final corner. Gets him up the inside for turn 1, and the move is done.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Let's have a little bit further back here. Oh my word, Yifan Xiao appears to have got a little bit of a bruise there on the right front of that Spec Racer Ford. It's okay, it's not mine. That looked a bit worse.
Yeah, that's Mikhail Sabiniaz, who we've seen in the wall once before tonight. And unfortunately, it's happened again in race 3. So he will fall back to 26th place. Domenico Sayu having his own issue, I think. A little bit deep into turn 1, slightly wide and just off the racing line. But that just proves once again from the outside how difficult the Spec Racer Ford is to manage on turn-in. The rear end can get very light on the way into corners.
Yeah, certainly back when I competed in the officials, and I feel like I'm blowing my own trumpet a little bit this one here, but back when I competed in Spec Ford for the officials, the car was actually quite unstable, notoriously so, and it was literally the season after where they updated the tire model for it, and it was honestly a completely different car. Now the Spec Ford almost used to be like if you could get the car to the end, you were in for a good shot, but it was honestly what took me from going as just, 1300 I rating driver, 1400. I finished at about 2000 I rating. It was a car that really, really encouraged, good technique and good racecraft.
Yeah, and I think it still teaches that to a great extent. The car is easier to drive now than it used to be, but it still has those same basic characteristics, right? It rotates on the way into the corner. It likes doing that. You have to lean into that if you want to be fast. I haven't driven the Spec Racer Ford in a couple of months, but occasionally I like to bring it out for a bit of a run, and I always enjoy myself when I do. Kane Halliburton moves up into 8th place, as it looks like Peter Ibrishimov is falling down the order. Something has happened to our Bulgarian number 1, who now sits in P13.
Well, let's see if I can find out exactly what happened for you there, Reese. Hang on.
So Manfred Floor up
the thing keeps moving. There you go.
There we go. So Ibrishimov, he lost it on the way into the final corner. That was a solo mistake right there. Once again, the rear end of the Spec Racer Ford, it may be a bit more pliable than it used to be, but it certainly still bites you if you get it wrong. And, well, that was the worst place to have that happen, right through the high-speed final corner. Everyone's going their fastest. Any momentum you lose there will compound. Back to live pictures, though. Kane Halliburton chasing down at Mark Schmurder here. Got in the slipstream, but not enough momentum to get up the inside into the final corner. Kevin Adrian not too far ahead. Halliburton just using the curb on the inside there to hook his car around, and he positions himself nicely for a move into turn 1. Much wider corner than pretty much every other around this circuit. All you need to do is look at a satellite image of this track to see how much wider it is there through turn 1 and why it is the best overtaking opportunity around this track.
One thing I did actually notice about the way Kane took that last corner is he's one of the few that actually, I say one of the few, he absolutely nailed the apex on that, and with it being such a long right-hander, I do find it gets more and more difficult. So I do have to wonder if that's just one place that he's able to pick up the pace on a couple of these drivers.
Yeah, the final corner, you know, I've driven so many laps around Tsukuba, both in Gran Turismo 4 and in iRacing, and the final corner has always been the hardest to get right because you can't see the exit on the way into the corner. It's blind through here. You've got the pit building and the pit wall blocking your view, and you're not entirely sure when to get on the power in your first few laps around here. As long as you pick the right acceleration point though, and you keep pushing the car to the exit, you can get that kind of line that Connor Bell just demonstrated for us. Yeah, brilliant stuff. As he tries his best to make some more tracks on the number 14 here, Jonathan Gutman, battling with Yanis Theophanopoulos for the last couple of positions in the top 10. Bell finally having a good run of things here, up 19 places.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic run, and you can see there as well, the look like the students were quite defensive on the way into turn 1. Bell able to just go, you know what, I got no one behind me. Takes that nice, beautiful racing line, and you can see there he's absolutely got slingshot up behind these guys. It looks like Jeremy Childers and Peter Ibrishimov going at it there for P13.
Yeah, battling going on wherever you look, and Ibrishimov is looking to make some kind of recovery here. Is there 3 wide ahead? Oi, 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 that's Bell getting up the inside of both Gutman and Theophanopoulos. And that is 2 for 1 there for Connor Bell. He is up into 9th place, and the battle continues between Gutman and Theophanopoulos. Good defense there from Jonathan as Yanis has to back off. That might bring Falcon, Childers and Ibrishimov back into the fold here. Speaking of Childers, he's just made the move on Ibrishimov into turn 1. And Philip Falcon has taken advantage too. He'll move up the inside, but that's a very tight line through the hairpin, and staying mid-track, rotating the car perfectly is Jeremy Childers.
Sneaky.
And yeah,
that's
sneaky from Ibrishimov. Excellent job there.
Absolutely beautiful move. I've got to say, I was quite impressed. Let's check at the front of the pack, because right now Evan Riviera has just about managed to break the draft there over to P2. Adam Meeker not quite able to stay with him, but Gabriel Ardigo very much in pursuit. As in Martin Visser, he's been having a really good afternoon. Ha! Gotcha. Really good afternoon so far today, and good to see that the Dutch driver is having some good form.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it looks like Ardigo has moved up into 2nd in the midst of all of that. Nice move up the inside of Adam Mika into the first corner, and now he can try and give chase to Edwin Rivera again. We might see a repeat of race 1 and the fantastic final laps that we saw from Ardigo and Rivera there. It looks like Ardigo, now that he's got some clear air, has a bit more to focus on, and he can decrease that gap. It's worth pointing out that Ardigo's best lap is about a 10th faster than Edwin Rivera's fastest lap. So, yeah, put a pin in that. Keep that in mind as we enter the final 6 minutes of this race.
Oh, there you go. If you look at the bottom of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, you can just see how these laps work out. Ardigo being in the middle, and you can see he is indeed able to get a little bit of time there off of Riviera. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But I do have to wonder, is it maybe a little bit too little too late? Because he's got Adam Mika right behind. What's going to be the strategy here? Is Mika going to go, you know what? All right, let's go. Let's work together. Let's push. See if we can maybe bump draft. That's actually something I've not seen from any of the drivers yet today. I've not seen anybody trying to bump draft. Don't get me wrong. If the straight's long enough, say you're talking about the main straight after Blanche Rouge and Radion at Spa, it's quicker to basically leapfrog each other, but on a smaller one like this, I think maybe a little nudge could be the way to go.
Yeah, worth keeping that in mind too. Let's see what Adam Mika decides is the best course of action. For now, Ardigo is driving a bit defensively still. He's quite close to the two drivers behind him, and Edwin Rivera, it seems, if anything, is increasing the gap, and Ardigo has to go defensive versus Mika once again. So, yeah, it looks like while Ardigo had great momentum working his way through Visser and Mika, now that he's got no one ahead of him to slipstream off, his pace is starting to drop. I mean, just that last lap, Edwin Rivera ran 0.4 of a second faster than Gabriel Ardigo. It looks like that's how much the draft might be worth.
Yeah, the draft definitely very, very potent, and it's a little bit misleading at times as well, where I've literally had drivers ahead of me and I felt, oh my gosh, you're so slow. And then I get ahead and all of a sudden I've got a rear view that's absolutely full of their car, and I'm like, it's very humbling in that particular moment.
Yeah, and I've certainly been in that position myself. Oh my god, why are you going so slow down the straights? Then I get ahead and I'm like, oh, that's why. Ibrishimov, with a little bit of drama, he has fallen further back now. We saw him fighting with Falcon and Masson, I believe, a little bit earlier for 12th place, and now he's back to 17th. So it hasn't been a nice drive for him, and it's getting even worse there with Rich Meesters tapping him around in the penultimate hairpin. And so Rich might be feeling a little sheepish out of that one. Meanwhile, the battle between Gutman and Theophanopoulos is continuing. Connor Bell has left these guys behind, and they don't seem too unhappy about that. They're more than happy to continue this battle here. Theophanopoulos is nailing the exit of turn 1 at the moment, but it's hard to position your car for a move when you have to go through that flat-out S-bend on the way into this hairpin.
Yeah, just looking at some of the driving there as they're going down the start-finish straight, I got a feeling there may be a little bit of spice and a little bit of heat here in this kitchen. I got a feeling we may see an incident from this in not too distant future.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Theophanopoulos has been involved in a couple of contact incidents tonight. Whether or not the same thing is going to happen with Jonathan Gutman remains to be seen. Meanwhile, take a look at what happened to Ibrishimov. That's Meesters getting up the inside there, and if anything, it sort of looked like the slide started for Ibrishimov in the middle of the corner, and Meesters couldn't really do much about it, but it's a little bit of a mystery there. Might have to wait for another time to work that out. Oh, hello. Big momentum on the inside for Theophanopoulos as Gutman ran a bit deep and had to lose some momentum to get the car turned.
Oh, I'm just reading some of the comments right now, and I gotta admit, this one, I'm enjoying it. So we got Germain Profundi. Fair play to him. This is absolutely top comment for me, but I know why Marinovic drives like a boss. He's from Argentina. I just love the stones on this guy. That's absolutely fantastic. But then on the flip side, we've got Canadian Cutting Edge on the Pit Road Production channel. Marinovic is dropping a bit. Do the tyres drop off on this length of race? Yes, they do. I find in my experience they do drop off a bit, but he is very much still with the pack there. Sorry, Jake. He's very much about half a second behind Adam Mika, trying to challenge there for P4.
Yeah, he's managing this pretty well. You know, they've spaced out a little bit now in this fight. It seems Ardigo has managed to get a little margin over Visser, who seems a bit more occupied with keeping Adam Mika behind at the moment. And Marinovic is trying to pick up the scraps where he can. Mika was very slow out of the hairpin that time by, and all over the curb and onto the grass there goes Marinovic. He had great pace in qualifying. Can't forget that Mako Marinovic started in 3rd for race 1, so he's got 1 lap pace around here. But yeah, the comments that we were talking about, bringing those into account, the tires do seem to be a little bit beyond their limits for Marinovic right now. He's not quite able to get the consistent pace that the 3 in front of him have been able to do over the course of the last few laps. And just like that, we only have 30 seconds remaining on the race timer, which means this could be the final lap of the race. Jonathan Gutman still fighting hard with Yanis Theophanopoulos, and now Philip Falcon is going to join them. Philippe Masson is not too far behind either, so those formerly 2 separate battle packs are now coming together in the final laps.
Yeah, Fanfanopolis did manage to make its way by, but are we going to see an emphasis on this draft? They're almost tapping the left rear corner there. The number 16, Fanfanopolis, would have been very much under pressure there, but I do definitely feel that there's a little bit of rivalry going on here. They managed to keep it clean. I did predict there was going to be some fireworks here, but what are we going to see in the closing stages of this race? As I believe Edwin Riviera has just done exactly that. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He's coming up to the checkered flag. Another win here for this driver. Well-deserved. Gabriel Ardigo able to get second. Martin Visser in third. I believe that might be his first ARA podium as well. Able to snake Adam Meeker near the end.
Yeah, brilliant job from Martin Visser. He kept it clean the whole way through, drove consistently, and is rewarded with some solid points for a podium. Rivera backing up his form from Montreal gets a race win tonight, and Ardigo finishes on the podium in 2 out of 3 races here tonight, wherever you are in the world. I guess it doesn't matter. This round of the Almeida Racing League Season 5. Yeah, congratulations to our podium getters. Yanis Theophanopoulos ends up 11th in the end, but he still gained 3 spots. Gutman and Falcon in front of and behind him both gained 5 positions each. The hard charger when it comes to non-coach drivers is Yifan Chow, who gained 14 places in the end to get up to 15th. An excellent job from the number 28. Halliburton made it up 20 positions, and Bell up 21. Our coaches having a great time in that final race, both starting at the back and both getting into the top 10. So those are your final results then. Rivera, Ardigo, and Visser, your podium with Mika Marinovic in 4th and 5th. Halliburton, Adrian, Schmurder, Bell, and Gutman round out your top 10.
As we have a look there at P11, it's going to be Theophanopoulos. We watched him and Gutman having an absolutely fantastic battle. Gutman able to get the win on that one, but oh my gosh, Philip Falcon took 12th with Philip Masson in 13th. Steve Saunders was in 14th with Yifan Chow. That is the non-coach hard charger, as Reese was saying. In 15th, Neil England took 16th with Rich Mises down 5. 17th position with Javier Sombrino. I'm pretty sure he was quite potent last round as well, Reese. Correct me if I'm wrong. With Zoltan Zomator in 19th and Manfred Floor closing out your top 20.
Yeah, Sabrino was a factor last round at Montreal. He hasn't had the results he wanted here at round 2. Brian Torres finishes 21st ahead of Jacques Coetzee and Jeremy Childers, and Mikhail Sabiniaz was involved in a fight with Domenico Sayu at the end. They finished within a second of each other, about 0.6 of a second between them for 24th and 25th. Ibrishimov, he was doing so well earlier on in the race, but he started sliding backwards and it didn't get better from there. He has to settle for 26th in the end ahead of Mike Roberts, who was the last finisher of the race. We saw retirements from Brandon Priest, Zdenek Hamak, and Tuomas Nieminen. Real shame for all 3 of them. They had pace to potentially work their way into the top 10, maybe even the top 5, and Tori Traverso did not take to the start of the final race. So with all of that, the racing portion of the night is concluded, and now we just wait for drivers to jump in for an interview with us. If you finished in the top 3, make sure to jump on over to the Pit Road Productions Discord and have a chat to us. We would love to hear from you. But reflecting briefly on today's racing, Zippy, I think a little bit more chaotic than at Montreal, largely due to the size of the track, but it's good to see something different on a high-profile league racing calendar.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So I've got Pixel Sam here in Swellio's chat. That's pretty interesting here. He's wondering why the coaches are also attending the race. So I think that's a good one for Connor Bell if we can get him in the booth. But I did point out how we previously had battles. You know, if you fought the coaches, certainly Mike Sargent was probably the biggest person who capitalized on that. Where basically, if you fought coaches, you got bonus points the longer you held them behind you, and it was great because let's be real, these are the guys who are teaching the course and, you know, doing the workshops and stuff like that. It made for a lot of fun, and not only that, I mean, it's fun to be able to race one of the, you know, legitimate pros as well. So, yeah, is it a trick for building camaraderie? In some ways, yes. It's also some of the coaches as well, their students would be in there, but it does look like we've managed to catch up with one of our first drivers here. Reese, I believe you've got the honours.
I have indeed. Edwin Rivera joins us. So it took you until the end of the night to get back onto the top step of the podium, Edwin, but the fighting was hard all the way through, and I think you backed up your championship lead with some consistent results here at Tsukuba. You still finished on the podium in all 3 races tonight.
Yeah, man. First race, Gabriel made a pretty good move, so I was just kind of patient, and then the second race was a chaotic start, and I just couldn't find my pace. So third race I found my pace, and I just took off.
Yeah, this was a difficult track as well. You know, it's a lot more compact than just about any other circuit we go to on this season's calendar, other than Winton for the final round. So you had to change up a few things, I suppose, when you were battling with other cars.
Yeah. I mean, and Gabriel, he did a pretty good job of holding the lead in the first race the whole time. I couldn't really make a move. He didn't make many mistakes either. So unfortunately, I rear-ended in the hairpin there at the end, but you know, still a good result. Got me a good start for the second race.
Yeah, certainly did. And well, starting from second on the grid for race 3, coming away with the win, you were under pressure a couple of times, but it seems like once you got in clear air, there was very little catching you. What was your perspective on the strength of the slipstream around here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's stronger than I thought it was gonna be. I did a couple of officials this week too, and I noticed that. And then these guys got pretty good pace. I mean, it was pretty good pace today. Everybody really. But I felt like if I could just wait for them to battle a little bit, then I could just, you know, have a little more clean air to go with. But it was really good. It was really fun from everyone and really good racing.
Well, we head to the bumps of Sebring next week. Low grip surface, very bumpy. The Spec Racer Ford seems to deal pretty well with bumps, but you're going to have your eyes on stalks around there, and maybe a mouth guard to stop your teeth breaking.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be. I mean, it's the shorter layout, but probably going to be some good slipstream there going into the hairpin next week. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Edwin. Congratulations on the win in race 3, and we'll see you next week, mate.
Thank you, guys. Fun stuff.
All right, Edwin Rivera will likely maintain his championship lead out of that one. Zippy, I understand you caught up with Adam Mika, who won race 2.
Well, Adam, what an absolute belter of an evening you've had today. Certainly getting your first, I believe, ARA win. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tell us a little bit how you've been adapting to the Spec Racer Ford.
Yeah, this is my first win. It's been a long time coming. Thankfully, the chaos at the start in Heat 2 helped me out there. And I kind of just cruised and managed the race from that point. But yeah, the Ford here is, it's without the ABS, it's a little bit of an adapting for me. But yeah, I feel like I'm starting to get the pace a little bit with this car. And yeah, feeling more and more comfortable every week.
Oh, absolutely. Certainly, it is one of my personal favorites here, and you can say a bad word against it. It's okay. We just won't ever interview you again. I'm kidding. But certainly, Tsukuba, a very tight and very small track. Surprisingly, lap traffic not really coming into play. But one thing I do want to know, who do you think is going to be your biggest rival in this season so far?
Yeah, really tight, and little mistakes cost positions at this track. So yeah, it was super fun. Clearly, Edwin is kind of on a different level than us right now, so we're all chasing him. But there's a whole bunch of us right nipping on his heels here, and yeah, we're trying, practicing every week, and hopefully we can give him a run for his money next week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Adam Mika, able to get his first win today in the Almeida Racing Academy. We're going to wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again really soon here in the Pit Road Productions booth.
Thank you. That's the goal.
Well, now we move to Gabriel Ardigo, who got on the podium once again in 2 of the 3 races tonight. And Gabriel, you picked up your first win of the season after threatening at Montreal. That must have felt good.
It felt amazing, man, and it was such a good race. I knew Edwin had the pace. If we let him in clean air, he'll just gap us, you know? So I went for the move on the first corner and managed to I spent the whole race defending against him. I couldn't catch a break.
Yeah, indeed. It was very close, very tight racing all the way through, and you ended up coming off second best in race 2. A little bit of chaos to contend with in the second of our races there.
On race 2 or 3? I think race 3. Race 2, I had an incident, got hit in the back, and it was a whole recovery race for that one.
Yeah. So your perspective then of how you were able to make that recovery, I suppose consistency, especially with a damaged car, hard to pull off in this car around this track.
Yeah, the damage was really it was really hindering. You could only maintain pace if you had draft, and it was really applying pressure and maintaining that. I felt very comfortable racing and being very close to people here. We had a lot of practice and the pit party and everything, you know. So it was just about keeping the pressure up.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure being put on in race 3 as well, where you managed to come home in second. So a great points haul from today's round puts you in good stead for round 3 at Sebring. We wish you the best of luck for that one, Gabriel. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on finally getting the dub.
Thank you. See you.
Well, Gabriel Ardigo will celebrate that victory for sure, Zippy, and I understand we've got a podium getter here to celebrate his own.
Well, Kevin, it's great to see you having a good race, and not only that, making, I believe that might be your first podium in the ARA. Tell us a little bit about how you managed to pull that off.
It was a fun race and didn't qualify the best. I think I was like P10, but yeah, slowly moved up. A few incidents in front of me, took advantage of that. But everyone is really close in pace here, so you really got to keep the pressure on them and just hope for a little mistake. And at least in this track, there's a couple places that you can take a go at them in the corner, and I did pretty good, I think. I'm happy.
Well, definitely. Certainly, you have had a little bit of a bad luck at times, and having raced alongside you myself, I can say without a doubt that you are indeed an honourable driver. But Kevin, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out more on the academy side for today's performance?
I'd like to thank the coaches, Connor Bell and Kane Halliburton. Those two are doing a great job with us. We're learning lots. You can tell that the level of everybody is going up pretty quickly. Sometimes it's tough to know that you're advancing because everyone's advancing at the same pace as you, but you get into an official and you see like 3 or 4 guys from the academy and everyone's right at the top all the time. So yeah, big shout out to the coaches.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're unsure about being part of the Almeida Racing Academy, Kevin Adrian's basically just giving you a reference there. If you want to be at the top of your official splits, he's seen that. He also does that. I know Kevin. He can drive, ladies and gentlemen, much better than me, especially if you put him in the rain in an F1600, then the man is pretty much unstoppable. He finds grip. I don't know how he does it, but absolutely incredible. And if you do want to learn how, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to be part of the academy. But Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Congratulations on the podium here, taking the 3rd place for the club series here in the final race of the afternoon.
Thanks. Yeah, see you guys around.
Brilliant job from Kevin Adrian today, and a brilliant job from just about every driver in this field. You know, it's tough, Zippy, going for a race in a 30-car field around such a short track, but I reckon, especially up the top of the field, the drivers performed admirably today.
Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic battle, and I do have to feel that as they go more and more through the season, I wonder if we're going to, while we don't have a team championship in this season of the ARA, I have a feeling there may be a couple of allies being made, because if you can get some friends in a Spec Racer Ford, it can be an absolute game changer. You know, don't get me wrong, it's an individual competition, but as you race, you'll find people that you tend to be warmer towards and people that you tend to be more, I want to beat that guy. I think that's probably the best way of phrasing it. So we're going to have to find out and see what happens. But Reese, if you'd like to do the honors, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Whether you were on Twitch, whether you were on YouTube, here on Pit Road Productions, or from Swelio Almeida's channel, we are simulcasting the racing here for every single round of the season. We appreciate you coming on board and dropping your messages in the chat. It's always awesome to see, and we certainly hope that you can all join us for round 3 at Sebring in a week's time. It appears we're going to be racing the club layout of Sebring, so it's another tight and twisty affair, but still plenty of bumps around the northern half of that Floridian legendary sports car circuit. I'm Reese Gardner, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the comms box, and also producing behind the scenes here on Pit Road Productions. Round 2 of the Almeida Racing League came off very nicely. Let's see how we do for round 3. See you then.
If you're a racing driver and you want to reach an advanced level, there's a faster and easier way to become competitive. I've gone from this to this in 5 years. Now, we've created the perfect free driver development guide to help you understand the right order of racing skills to develop if you want to become a competitive driver as quickly as possible. This guide was made after 3,000 hours of combined high-level coaching.